Hi guys, believe it or not, but Dominic Raab, the Deputy Prime Minister, is a lawyer. Yes, it's actually true. Now with that in mind, he spoke to the House of Lords Committee on Wednesday about a number of different things, but in particular I want to show you this clip where he was asked by crossbench peer Lord Anderson about the Tories' plan to set fire to numerous laws that originated in the EU, many of which the UK was either the principal author of or at least voted for in the European Parliament. Raab's response to all of this: we need to go away and think about it. Have a listen to this.
Thank you. You mentioned legal uncertainty in relation to the Rule Bill, and of course that arises not only in relation to retained EU legislation, statutory instruments and so on, but also the directly effective EU obligations, whether they derive from the treaty or from directives or indeed from international agreements, which are removed by Clause 3. And I just wondered, we haven't got onto this yet in committee, I anticipate we'll get onto it tomorrow, but it seems to me the scope for legal uncertainty there is at least as great as it is in relation to the legislation. First, because how does Clause 3 interrelate to Clause 7? Clause 3 seems to remove these rights. Clause 7 seems to give the judges the choice whether they continue to apply them or not. But more fundamentally, what is the effect on our law going to be, our common law, interpenetrated for 50 years by these EU obligations, when the obligations are simply wrenched out? And I wondered if you thought there might be some sense, not in abandoning the whole task because it's too difficult, nobody wants to do that, in taking our time, spelling out what the anticipated consequences of removing each of these rights is likely to be, and then proceeding a bit more deliberately and with a bit more opportunity for Parliament to have a look at what's happening. Because, of course, one thing about the sunset in Clause 3 is that it can't be extended.
So, look, in one level, it's I'd need to go back and think about it and give it some wider view. I've looked at this principally from the MOJ angle, inductively. The only thing I would just gently press back, I think in any event, a lot of EU regulation created a measure of uncertainty overall. That is almost superfluous or even more questionable now that we're not a member state. But inevitably, I don't feel so strongly about that I'm not mindful of the balance. I'm not sure. I mean, this is I tend to be pragmatic about all of these things. So what I think you need to do is weigh up the pros and the cons. I certainly do agree with you, though, Lord Anderson, that we ought to have an empirical basis for it. And we ought to try and search for value added. And hopefully have convinced you that, at least in relation to the MOJ swathe, we've done that. Funnily enough, I think if you do, you probably end up getting rid of more than you suspected at the beginning, as long as you've got time where it needs to be adapted rather than just repealed, to make sure that you really understand what you're replacing it with.
Okay, what's the problem here? The problem is that there are many laws in the United Kingdom that derive from the European Union, and the Brexiteers want to remove all of these laws, or many of them. And they don't know, nobody seems to know, the impact of removing these laws. For example, it could be some sort of standard. It could be a product standard. So you must follow this law when you're producing this type of product. It must follow a particular standard. That could be one of the laws. Now, once again, I'm speculating here because the government, the Tories, have not released a list of the laws that they want repealed, how they're going to be replaced. But anyway, let's say there's a product. Okay, so from a day, the law will be removed. Now, will it be replaced by a UK law? We don't know. Let's speculate that it's not replaced. Then businesses will not know what standard to respect. Can I produce this product in the United Kingdom? Well, I don't know the law. We don't know what the law says. The only way of testing it would be to try, and if you're taken to court over it, the judge will decide. Now, we're talking about thousands of laws here. Each of them, if there isn't clarity, will have to be tested in the courts. The courts are going to be blocked, completely blocked, with all sorts of cases. And you're going to have to bring in lawyers and experts to defend your case. How much money is that going to cost? It's going to bankrupt some companies who were today believing they were acting within the legal framework, and tomorrow completely oblivious to it, unknown completely what they were. Am I doing something legal or is it illegal? Nobody knows. The only way we can find out is if we test it in court. Why are they doing this? Because they have to demonstrate to Brexiteers or the Brexit supporting public, we're out of the European Union. We have to, anything that has derived from the European Union, we have to get out of it. Now, this is one part of the argument. The other part is, well, it's about the deregulation and the disaster capitalist part of Brexit. Getting rid of regulations, because a lot of the European laws are related to regulations. So the quickest way out of that is to get out of the European legal framework, to remove these regulations and these laws. But the consequences of which will be catastrophic for many businesses. But it could also affect individuals as well. So not just businesses, but citizens. But once again, we don't know because the government haven't brought forward a list of the laws. No one can scrutinize it. I don't think they actually know themselves what laws we're talking about and how they're going to replace them. And Rishi Sunak was talking about getting rid of them within a year. By the end of this year, they will all be gone. Some will be repealed, some will be replaced. They don't know what they're doing. And once again, businesses are going to suffer the consequences of that. Now, I'm hopeful, and I'm more inclined to think that this will just be dropped. Quietly, it will be dropped. Yeah, we can't actually deal with this. It would block the courts. It would cost businesses millions, if not billions, in legal cases, and it's completely unworkable. So I think once again, this is going to be something that's presented as a Brexit win. People will eventually realize Dominic Raab, a lawyer, should know better. He's not some guy pulled off the street and put in a position of power. He should know something about the law. That taking away laws like this complicates the system, complicates everything, and just results in endless litigation. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.